sometimes I want to like push the envelope a bit and add things and add elements that get people talking. Rage bait's the initial word that comes to mind, but then I'm
Frustrating. I
like,
love it.
where's the long-term commitment to that? Short term, you'll get the views and you'll get the outrage and you'll definitely get the engagement. But will you get the money? And that's that's ultimately what
You
is.
want to be a disruptor, right? You want to disrupt.
Yes.
There
Yeah,
you go.
that's the word. I had another word that started with an S, but I'm like, maybe not go with that. Let's keep this PG.
Hi, everyone. I'm here today with Sylvie Soul, and she was one of my lovely finds at the Toronto Indie Author Conference. Just, I feel like I met somebody in my tribe, like a person who's like me, doing what I love and has the same passions for short fiction.
Oh God. Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity to speak with you. I'm a little starstruck. It's a pleasure and a surprise. Myself, I am a writer of short fiction. I've published several short fiction stories over the years. The main goal, however, is the novel, is the big full manuscript and full piece that I could publish and uh, someday hopefully do either traditionally publish, but if not, I'm very looking forward to doing it by self-publication. But I've just been exploring my love of fiction and learning more about myself, learning that I love to do speculative fiction, and I'm trying to get back into having an online presence with that. I did have, and I still do have a site. It's been a bit dormant. Shortly after the pandemic, but I'm after meeting with the writers at the Toronto Indie Author Conference and getting motivated, I feel like I want to bring out my brand and really express myself again. So yeah,
Oh,
that's
that's
uh that's my
wonderful. That's
story.
wonderful. That's good. Just funny. I just read an article about an author who somehow managed to hit New York Times bestseller list, very successful career, and managed to do it without ever putting her face on social media, which actually made me very encouraged because I tend to get daunted. I am an extrovert, I'm not an introvert, but this kind of thing, like actually being on camera, is not where my comfort zone is. I am really comfortable behind the camera, directing, editing, that being my old career. So I think the most important thing is the words. Just getting your words down on paper, getting them out there, getting people to read them, right? Maybe not every author has to be an influencer. What do you think?
No, you're right. I think there needs to be that. There has to be that balance. I agree. I'm the opposite of you, Angelique. I'm actually an introvert. So while I do like to be behind the scenes, and even in my work, in my day job, I'm more of a in a support role in what I do. But when it comes to my writing, as of late, I felt the shift of sorts where I do want to have my face out there, and I do want to have the entity and the personality of me known and attached with what I write.
Oh, I love that.
Even yeah, I want to do that, but again, like going back to the balance, it's you still have to write. Like you can build this presence, do the TikTok dances, do the book talk thing, but you're devoting all your time to promoting that image, and then there's little time left over to actually focus on the craft. And especially if you have a job on top of it, like I don't write full time. It's something I do right now as a hobby. The dream is that eventually what I create in my output sort of overtakes what I do in my day job, and I can someday foray into doing that full time. But I think right now I'm a long ways out. So it's finding that balance so I can do both and fill my cup and also get paid, at my house.
And absolutely. It was very inspirational at the Indie Author Conference to meet people like Zoe York and Mallory Cooper. Like, I just found they blew my mind. Those two were two of my top. I really enjoyed both their sessions because they both made it as professional, full-time indie authors. And it's been interesting to just see what their career progression was like and what they would talk about. So, what do you think? I have come to a conclusion about how to make it. With all of my research, I think there's one factor that is behind every successful full-time author. And what do you think it is? I'm going to let you guess before I tell you what I've discovered. What do all these authors have in common that are full-time authors?
Aside from being obsessed, which you'd have to be to get that far, I'd say the word that comes out in my head that I used to use a lot is consistency, like just chugging forward. Don't focus on motivation. Just, you know what you have to do, get it done. Doesn't matter how it gets done, do it. So consistency is for me.
I absolutely agree. The one thing that they all had in common is the amount of books they have out there,
Mm,
right? Zoe York has over 100. Mallory Cooper, I think she say over four or 500? Yeah,
something like that.
I know. I mean,
Obsessed amount.
Mark Leslie, I think he's got over 70 books. So I think it's honestly, what is it that Joe Solari said in my recent interview? When talent and opportunity meets luck, it's where you can have like those sparks, like the Andy Weir sparks, but to like have a consistent income, I think it's just productivity. You have to add productivity to that triangle. Talent, opportunity, luck, and productivity. And then they just seem to be able to build. So I'm like, just get your stuff out there. As always, I find the number one thing that holds me back is, of course, perfectionism, right? And I always
Mm.
try to tell myself, done is better than perfect, done is better than perfect, right? And then you can learn. But I'm always so fearful of, you put out, for example, my Roxy Vega Chronicles, and it's not going to be exactly right. And I'm going to be like, oh my God, I'm going to be so embarrassed in the future when people read it if it's not exactly right. And it ends up freezing you, right? It ends up like,
Well, I just have to say, Angelique, that I'm so impressed uh I admire you for putting out the Roxy Vega, because even if you know that it's not like 100% how you wanted to express it to your audience and to your readership, you're doing it. I have ideas. I'm like, oh, I wish like maybe I'll do something like that. I'll do a serial and I don't have the net newsletter game going yet. I'm so bad at it. I'm still learning, but my initial thought is to do it that way, but on Wattpad and put out serials and do it on a weekly consistency. But then I'm thinking like, oh, but no, it has to be just right, or I need to write the whole thing first and then meter it out. And so I get what you mean about the perfectionism. It is a roadblock. It's a mental block that prevents you from just going and doing the thing. Like I think eventually I finally will. Like right now I'm trying to force my mind into novel mode. Like I can't flip both ways. If I'm going to focus on something, it's either the long novel or a bunch of short stories. So I'm trying to mold myself in that way. But when I do get back into the short fiction mode, I do wanna do serials. But yeah, it's that perfectionism. Like even with the manuscript, I'm like I had one of the one of the editors that was at the event, and she's been at previous years. I believe is Genevieve Clovis. She's actually the editor of my manuscript, and she edited it last year. And I have all her beautiful, amazing um, notes. And we even chatted a bit on the Saturday. She's like, "Oh, I hope I didn't give you no too much." I'm like, "Oh no, no, this is perfect. Give me everything. Like this is why we pay for your talent." But then I'm sitting there, I'm like, "No, okay, now I got to incorporate all these." And then that's the block is like, what if I forget something or I just make the same mistakes in round two? So yeah, perfectionism is really something that's tough to grapple with. I agree.
so you have a completed novel.
I do. Yeah, I completed it. I call it lovingly my draft 1.5 because I have gone through moments where I've completed it and I'm like, oh no, I don't like this. I got to scrap it and do it over again. So, but I finally had a version that I was happy enough to get from point A to point B. It's done. I gave it to her last year and she gave me phenomenal notes. So now I have to go back and like, as I've said, like take a sledgehammer to it and like beat it into submission so that it's better. And I think that's the daunting challenge is, no one ever at least people who are aware of their craft and know that they care about their audience and want to give a good product. No one ever gives out a first draft. I'm not going
No.
to say the Ernest Hemingway because I don't even know if that's the true quote, but you know where I'm going with that. But no one puts out their first drafts. So I know maybe it's draft five, maybe it's draft nine. I don't know where it is, but I know it's somewhere in the horizon. And I think that's the other block is like, oh, I got to go through all these cycles before I can finally be like, yes, this is what I want to share to the world.
That's the truth. So my very first novel, City Lights to Country Nights, I think I rewrote it four times, five times.
Mm, mm.
And that was definitely challenging. And then I was working with my agent on that one, and she, some harsh notes, but we got there. And then now I'm in the stage where the second novel, Dancing into the Dark, revision three or four, I think. First, it existed as a script that I wrote with Rachel Luttrell. And then I
Mm.
took the script and turned it into a novel, gave it to my editor, or sorry, my agent, who went, "This is horrible." Of course. Thank you. Thank you, Cherry. There's good things, but in general, I'm confused. There's too many characters. I can't follow. The magic system isn't working. Like, okay. And then what I do actually is I hire Bruce McAllister. So do you know him? He wrote Kin. It was on the very first LeVar Burton podcast. He's phenomenal. If you don't know him, you should look him up.
Okay.
Short fiction is short fiction. Like he's Bram Stoker Award nominated. He's phenomenal. He's helped me. Like I've paid him by the hour, and he's a wonderful, wonderful coach. And he's helped me identify why a character might not be connecting, or he's actually very good at interpreting like what my agent would say. So my agent would say, for example, "I don't like your main character," or "This is happening," and I'm like, "Well, I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out how to make her more likable." And Bruce was able to do it. Like he just read my manuscript, the first 50 pages, and went, "Here are your problems." You know, he turned it on its head. And then I'm like, okay. And then that's pretty wonderful when you can kind of get that sort of help. I'll have to talk to you more about your editor because I actually don't have a full-time editor now. I've just been self-editing, but I'm so impressed you did a novel. So Sylvie, I wasn't able to. Like City Lights to Country Nights, all my novels are actually short stories kind of stitched together. And then, as you say, sledgehammered and made to like be a complete novel because my brain does not work in full novel mode. So that's been my hack is to try and link, that's the whole Roxy Vega thing, link those short stories. And then I don't feel like I hate my life. I hate everything about writing. Like whenever I think about writing a novel, it's kind of complete torture because it's
Mm.
just so much work, right? It seems so daunting. 80,000 words is daunting. 90,000 words is daunting. But 1,000 words or 3,000 words, why that's easy,
It's
right?
doable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you kind of outed me because once you said the 80s, I was like, yes, like in the biggest brass, like in the if you want to get into semantics in it, yes, I have my completed manuscript, but word count wise, it's still like woefully in the novella stage. I haven't even cracked the n NaNoWriMo minimum of 50,000. So that's another reason why I know I have to go back because right now it's sitting at like a mid 30,000. Like, yeah, I like if I wanted to, I could be like, no, this is it.
It's a
it's a
novella.
35,000. And I think the market's changing. I think at the time when I started writing it, people were like, do not put a novella out. People aren't going to read that. They want a big fat tome. And I think my understanding is that sentiment has changed and people are more receptive to getting smaller bite-sized stories that they could consume. It doesn't have to be this big brick that they take to the airport or what have you. So if I find that I just can't add more words or can't embellish my story more, then maybe it stays at a 35, 40,000 word um novella and that's fine. But to your point, I just wanted to say editors are a godsend. Like that they break apart. I think when we reach that stage as writers, when we know we want to write the best thing possible, I think we've evolved from that step of maybe going to peer groups or writer workshops, which can be helpful, but they can be overwhelming because you might get six or seven different schools of thought, and you don't know, well, which one is the one that I want to follow. You might have someone who has a story that they would write in their own mind, but it's not the story you want to tell, or people that just flat out don't get it. And if you cater to them, then you're damaging your story in the interest of someone who might not even ultimately read it, no matter what you do. So when we take that step and actually literally invest in our writing, I think that's when we really take it to the next level. I was just saying, like, I was thankful enough to get, I think it's the Toronto Arts grant to help fund my editing, and that was the best thing ever. The money, like the money is well spent. And so it makes me upset sometimes. It wasn't, I think there was a roundtable this year. Unfortunately, I couldn't go on the Sunday because I had a prior commitment, but I went to the roundtable session they had at the Indie Author Conference last. year, and you got to speak to all the different subject matter experts, and one table was specifically for editing. So I sat there with my editor, but there was another person, and they were just asking, well, like, I want to do this and I want to edit my book, but I don't want to spend a lot of money. And my soul just died inside for myself and for her, because I'm like, you get what you pay for. It's like, why, if you care about your craft and you care about producing the best product or best material, why would you cheapen yourself, or why would you not invest in your work? And it just, I think that's important. Like we don't give editors nearly enough praise.
Oh, they're absolutely necessary. But here, okay, here you go. This is the problem. Most novels aren't even going to earn out what that editor's going to charge you. That's
Mhm.
the sad reality. I mean, because I've whined in the background to Mark Leslie about how much my books make. And he's like, You're making more than, you're making more in your short stories than people make on their novels. Like, most people won't even earn $1,000 from their books. And that's even like big authors will say New York Times bestsellers will say this particular novel didn't make anything. It's a really hard industry, right? And then
Hmm.
you've got others who, are making six figures, even though I always have to say, one of the questions I've started to always ask when I'm interviewing successful authors is, okay, that's your net, or that might be your gross, but what's your net? Because you have to spend so much on ads, right? Like the Facebook ads, the Amazon ads. It's such a tough go for authors. Like it really is not an easy industry. And then you've got to kind of look at the level of commitment you need, right? Like look at people like um look how many conferences they're going to. They're speaking, they're sitting behind tables at book fairs, they're going to cons. It's like I sit back here and I'm exhausted just thinking about it. Like I'm like, oh my God. And I don't like sitting behind tables trying to hawk my wares. Right. As I said, I actually, even though I love meeting people and talking to people like you, I do not like selling. I
Hmm.
don't like being the face of anything. I want to tell the faces what to do. I want to be the director, the producer. I don't want to be the one in front of the camera. That's very uncomfortable for me.
And you're an extrovert too, so imagine how the introvert writers feel. Like it's so hard. Like I had a job when I was younger, and I had to do I think it was the outbound call thing, where you call people to see if they want to come to a car dealership to look at some
Oh,
cars. And
oh,
yeah,
it can
that
be very
I
tough.
couldn't even last like I couldn't even last the summer. That was just so, selling is not my strengths. And I even myself, I'm still struggling to sell and promote myself. But yeah, like it 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 was interesting. You bring up ads. Just seeing some of the speakers on the Saturday. You mentioned Mal Cooper. She did the talk
Facebook
on
ads one, yeah, right.
Facebook ads, which is something I've never considered, because I'm just not at that stage yet. Most of my stories are combined to anthology, so I don't have a singular product that I can promote or would have the means to promote with a Facebook ad. But it just blew my mind. I was learning stuff like, oh, I didn't know Facebook or Meta was going all in on this AI and the algorithm, and how you have to finagle your words so that the AI knows what you're talking about, so that they can promote it accordingly, so that you're not being misrepresented. And just I loved what Tao Long and Mark Leslie did with the
So
book.
fun.
That was great. I thought that, like, you could do like a whole, like, maybe separate workshop with it. So it was so well done, and just like my jaw dropped seeing like how fast, because I think they only had like a 15-minute break to put up and set down the good display, the one with all the books that Mark Leslie had. And it was like, I don't even know how many books. It was just like a whole mountain of like,
Well, he's got a lot out there.
yeah, yeah, but that's what you need, and that's what you have to know how to be like, this is my product, this is what I am. And you can't, as Dow said, do the thing where you're like texting on your phone and looking away from the, like, and you want to, and that's like the urge to doom scroll while people go by, and you hope people will just see it and like, oh my God, that's the book for me. Gimme, I don't care who you are. It doesn't work like that. You have to be personable, and you have to put yourself out there. And that's why I love, 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 love this conference. And I'm so glad it's getting bigger. And I know it's just going to be even better next year. Like we as authors need to network. We're stuck in our little cubby hole typing away, and like it's good for the craft, it's good for, you know, making the material, but we can't be a sourpuss. We can't be to ourselves and antisocial and only doing the Jay Sherman buy my book thing. We have to be out there.
It's true.
So
And
yeah.
you can learn. I mean, initially, I'm like, I'm not a indie author. Why would I go to this? Right? Because I've got the agent and all my other work is in, it's bought. It's bought by, I'm in anthologies, I'm on podcasts, I've got over 100 stories out there. So I'm like, I'm a traditionally published author. And then I'm like, well, Angelique, maybe you should be an indie author. Maybe you can do both, be hybrid, which is what the whole Roxy Vega experiment is about. Is I'm like, I'm going to try something on the indie side. Even though my agent said she would like to try and sell Roxy, but I'm like,
Mm,
it's the timeline. Who's got the patience to wait? My first book has been on sub since February 2025.
mm.
Cowboy Romance. And I thought it was so marketable. I thought it would be quick. Nope. It's still on sub and it'll have been on, it'll be 2 years come February.
That's nerve-wracking.
And then even if it gets bought, publishing companies have a 2-year window for production. So even if it gets bought tomorrow, it's still 2 years before it's out. I wrote the damn thing in 2023. I'm like, I'm like, everything might be irrelevant almost. So I was like, okay, maybe there's something to be said for this indie side. I mean, I think it's good to pursue both paths, right? The more paths, what is it? Give yourself as much opportunity as possible, right? But it's very daunting. And as you know, because you follow my Substack, I am looking for the money. How do we make money? How do we be profitable? How do we find balance, right? Like I'm exploring it for all of us. And I haven't found the answer yet, but I feel like I'm getting closer. After talking to people like, you talk to Mark. Did you listen to my interview with Cindy Gunderson?
Which one was that? Was that
She does
recent?
like the hockey romances, and she's probably my most popular episode. If you haven't, go back and listen to that one. She's done something unique. She managed to build her brand over 6 digits without paying for any ads. She was able
That's
to just kind of use TikTok and she blew my mind. Here. You ready? You want me to share her number one most amazing thing that I got out of my podcast with her?
please.
When, when you're writing your novel, mark your marketable moments down. Like, for example, if it's a shifter romance and there's a moment where the dominant female lead has to like be submissive to the male lead for her own good, that's something you hang your marketing on that. That's going to grab people. That's going to sell your book. So while she's writing, she marks her marketable moments. And then those are what go to TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook. She's doing more advertising now because algorithms have changed and the TikTok store apparently isn't selling the way it used to.
Mm.
But isn't that genius? I never even thought of that. So now when I'm writing, I'm like going, ooh, this moment where, Roxy has to I don't know, have this big fight scene with her ex-lover. That's a marketable moment, right? Then I'm taking a note of that. But building out those moments as you're writing will save you so much time in the future. And then you can almost build your plot around it because, of course, especially when you're dealing with like romance readers, there's tropes and moments they look for. But I just thought that like that, just like, oh, right? When I was talking to her.
That takes an incredible amount of foresight, but on the same token, like you should know your story in and out, and you should know like, yes, this is exactly what's going to grasp and grab the audience. But yeah, I should I
Got your brain ticking.
yeah, I'm already like planning different marketable moments now with what I have now. Like I know there's stuff I haven't even really injected into the newer draft of the novel that I'm already thinking I want to hang my hat on this and really go for this. And I still want my story to be considered young adult, but uh, I don't know. Sometimes I want to like push the envelope a bit and add things and add elements that get people talking. I maybe it's my time on the internet that forces me to want to be a bit more of the I don't want to what's the word? Just like pull the like push the boundaries, so to speak.
Right, right.
Um, rage bait's the initial word that comes to mind,
Rage
but then I'm
baiting, I
like,
love it.
where's the long-term commitment to that? Short term, you'll get the views and you'll get the outrage and you'll definitely get the engagement. But will you get the money? And that's that's ultimately what it
You
is.
want to be a disruptor, right? You want to disrupt.
Yes.
There
Yeah,
you go.
that's the word. I had another word that started with an S, but I'm like, maybe not go with that. Let's keep this PG.
A shit
The
disturber? There's no
Yeah, that was the
PG
word.
on.
Okay,
There's
I
no
wasn't
PG
sure.
here. This is just you and me, and
That's it. You want to be like the shit disturber marketer. But again, like where does that leave us in the long term? Like I don't want to burn any bridges in the time in at the same token of like evoking a strong emotion. I want that evoked emotion to mean something in the long term.
Can I share something with you? One of my big discoveries this year, like
Please.
one of my huge discoveries. Okay, so my background, right, journalism, television producer. I was very worried that if I really let my horror freak flag fly, that I would destroy my day job, right? That if people knew that I can write some very strange things, they wouldn't hire me to write about the local pumpkin festival or whatever I'm going to do. I'm going to report on a cold case today. So I was very worried about that. And then I thought I was going to go back to conventional television, but then I had to sit myself down. Actually, it was a talk with Maddie Dalrymple that kind of we went through this together. So in my ultimate most perfect life where I live the life I really want, I'm not writing about pumpkins. I'm not writing about, you know, algae in a lake. I want to write fiction. I can write about algae in a lake if it then becomes sentient and then goes and eats people, right? That's where my brain goes and the stuff that I just love. I love to read it. I love to write it. I love to talk to people who love it. That's what I love. And I'm like, why am I being so inauthentic to myself out of fear? Right? I mean, that's really what was
Mm.
happening. If you looked at my LinkedIn page, I would never really share my horror stories. I was very quiet about my stories that get the most reaction from, I don't know, I don't even like feel like I have fans, but like people who like my writing, they gravitate to my darker stuff. I mean, that's even why Mark and I connected because he's in the horror realm. He likes my horror stuff. The darker and the more authentic, and the more I let my nightmares spill on the page, the more success I'm seeing. And as soon as I started actually just promoting my own fiction and doing Free Friday fiction and putting it out there and putting it on LinkedIn and letting everybody know I write horror, I'm not ashamed of it. In fact, I'm a little fucked up. There you go. Like I can there's some dark stuff here. But I always like to put a skew of positivity on it. So I feel like that's my brand. It's like we'll go down that dark hole together, but we're going to come out and the world's going to be a better place. Like my one of my zombie stories, my zombies instead of eating brains, they eat bad thoughts,
Mm.
leaving their victims better people behind, right? Like that's the kind of stuff I'd love to write. And as soon as I started truly being authentic to what I wanted to say and not being ashamed to let people know, oh yeah, I write some really strange stuff. My life didn't get worse. The opportunities didn't dry up. In fact, they became more, right? Like I sold a horror story to Blackstone Publishing and it's going to be in their shadow labs. And then it's going to be pushed as something for television and film, which is my dream and what I've been reaching for. I want to be ready
Oh,
for TV and film. It's my background, right? Like I'm being found. People are reaching out to me and asking if I can be an anchor author in their anthologies, which is happening with Horrific Scribblings.
wow.
Right? Like it's as soon as you allow yourself to kind of abandon fear and just go for what you truly want, I have found that I'm having far more success. My Substack is growing. I'm getting more people following me. So,
Yay.
right? So you can't let fear be, right? Fear cannot guide you. It has to be, let your passion be out there because it's only, you only have one remarkable life, right?
Hmm.
We only
Hmm.
have one chance here. So why hide who you really are out of fear of what others think?
Yeah, let that freak flag fly. Blah. Let that freak flag fly.
Why exactly?
Say that 5 times fast. But
It's a
yeah,
tongue
no, you
twister.
get it. Yeah. And don't say you don't have fans. Of course you have fans. Like I follow you. You said your Substack is growing. Like it's people are paying attention and it is an attention economy. And like, I think we need to get to this point. It's like, oh no, what if people come with like, oh, look, she did that and like, horror, what's that? It's like, no, I think we need to reframe the mindset that it's a good thing when people are like, they're trying to, I don't want to say it's a good thing that people are trying to put you down, but to say like there's enough people out there that actually have so much passion or ire or emotion over you that they feel like they need to broadcast to other people to say, no, this is a bad thing. Well, like, you still have that attention. You still have people gravitating to you and caring enough to sort of disseminate and break apart what you write. And like, that's what we want in the end is we want the attention
So
as long
true.
as people aren't or as long as no one's getting harmed or hurt or no one's reputation is being like flung through the mud, like you write you put yourself out there and like most people don't care. If people care, like that's a win. I don't care if it's good or bad at that
It's so
point. Like,
true.
talk about me, please.
Exactly. It's like you're saying about the rage baiting. Where can people find you? Great author
But
name, by the way. Your author name rocks.
thank thank you. So there's some works there. I would recommend maybe on the page going to Midnight Indigo. That's one of the very first pieces I sold for money. And it's Waiting Room. I don't want to spoil what it's about. It is a bit dark, but it's short and it's a good foray into the type of writing that I do and I'm doing.
This has been so wonderful. Thank you.
Thank
Like,
you. This has been fun. This it fills my cup to talk to fellow writers and fellow
oh, I
authors.
love it. You know what? Same, which is why this podcast I've started and stopped it so many times. Like, I'm never going to do it again. And then I'm like, yeah, but I really enjoy talking to people. So then I started up again. Once again, it's a bit of that freak flag flying that as soon as I said to myself, like Tim Ferriss, what if this was easy? Because I used to try and produce short stories, then talk to the author, and it would take me freaking hours and hours and hours and hours. But it's been so nice, right? To just connect with people and hear their stories, because that's really, as us who write stories, also the story behind the story, I often find just as interesting, if not more. See, because now your stories are going to mean more to me now that I know the person. I'm going to be able to read Waiting Room and be like, oh, I get it, right? I love that part.
And I love this. Like we need this. Like we do need these avenues for knowing each other and discussion. So I do genuinely hope you keep the podcast going and all your stories going.
Oh, thank you. This has been just so lovely. Well, you have a great day.